All right, deciding series here. Everything on the line to see who will make it through to the main event for the Elite Classic number 2. One and all, welcome back to the Age of Empires 4 action. In the south, playing in the blue, as the French to open this best of 5, we've got Elyona, a player from France, funnily enough. And in their way, Kaiser Johan might have Kaiser in the name, but we have got a Swede here playing as the HRE in the yellow. A comfort pick, actually, I'd say, for Kaiser Johan. One of the type of picks I think he just likes to get his hands on very early on. Interesting thing about this draft, by the way, best of 5 draft, they picked, I believe it was 6 civs. And the way that this played out, I actually think Kaiser Johan threw a curveball here on the opening. He picked HRE to dodge Order of the Dragon as a counter pick because Elyona had that in their arsenal. And right now, Order of the Dragon feels like a very hard counter to the HRE because of how hard they play in Feudal Age. So, interesting curveball, but one that I don't think necessarily worked out to their advantage. If you look beyond the expansion, back when we've seen the most French HRE games before extra civs got introduced, this is actually a 55% favored matchup for the French. It makes sense if you think about it, right? Having access to Feudal Age Knights means you can lag behind an Age up and block relic gathering. So it's going to be a very hard sticking point in this game for Kaiser Johan. We're going to do the 2x speed just for the first 5 minutes so we can escalate through. We're not going to be seeing any early aggro plays out of these 2 civs. On one side, you've got a civ that literally doesn't aggro until the Castle Age, and then they just aggro for relics. The other, you've got a civ that just wants to get optimal timing on the School of Cavalry so they can get into the first Knight Pump. The question in my mind is whether this is going to be a sneaky second TC type build from Elyona as well, because typically, like, if you want to go 1 TC all in, you just pick Jeanne D'Arc, right? The issue in this matchup is that Kaiser Johan did indeed ban that away from Elyona. Interesting. Yeah, I actually really, like, I'm looking at the draft again, and I'm a really big fan of what Elyona done here, where they banned the Malians away from Kaiser Johan, picked the English, and then came back for the Malians afterwards. That's an interesting thing with this pick ban system. For those who don't know how it works in the Elite Classic, for a best of 5, you basically go, I believe it was ban, pick. Yeah, ban, pick, ban, pick, ban, and then the rest pick. So what that means, you can ban 2 civs away, pick 1, ban another, pick another, then ban another. But depending on the order, what you can essentially do is if your opponent can't, like, for example, pick Malians because you banned it as your final ban, which is what Elyona done, it means that you can get what is considered to be like a mid-upper tier civ at the end of your draft. You don't have to rush it. It's a very strong element to drafting right now. So yeah, on that kind of side of things, I would say Elyona got an edge. Kaiser Johan swung strong at the start of their drafting phase, but later on it just looked kind of shaky. So someone we highlighted in the pregame before we got into this is that for me, for KJ to look good in this game, they're going to have to posture aggressively in terms of their performance here. They're going to have to actually get 2 points on the board by game number 3. Otherwise, I think you're going to see the fatigue of their draft start to show. Outpost going up, double outpost, in fact. So I like this from KJ. It makes it obvious what they're going to do, but honestly, if you're doing anything but going fast castle against the French, probably having a bad time, right? Like, playing into mass knights doesn't feel great, and the Archon Chapel has been set up behind. We've also got it on the wood line, and oh, wow, I just realized how... Wow. I'm a little bit shocked by this. I really thought that the Archon would be dropped on the 4 because the Knight can't arrive quick enough, right? Like, not buffing your goal while going fast castle build means you're very suboptimal. And these Knights can still get around the back. Like, you've just done it. The left side isn't walled, right? So, although it takes longer, they can still get in a position where they can start diving onto that wood line. Elyona is already on the prowl. Stone is also being gathered, and it's going to be a charging attempt. That's going to force an idle out. That was a little bit unnecessary on the longer charge there from Elyona. Could have dodged the fire altogether. But it is going to be second TC on the deer right next to the base. KJ is trying to be a pain in the ass here, actually. Funnily enough, he's just helping. Like, the way this is splitting is even better because now you can just push and drop a TC here. So I wouldn't say that this is like a victory for KJ and what he's done. This should still be absolutely fine for Elyona. Well, wait, did they just grief them? I think they just griefed themselves. They'll settle for the east side one. So TC going up. Kaiser Johan does see this. The problem is, like, some people might look at this game right now and go, yep, KJ's got an easy game. That's really greedy from Elyona. I think the detail that matters here that allows Elyono to do this is the double outpost investment with no Arcan on the forward. You have to put more workers on the gold to make this efficient, right? Or not efficient, but make this optimal. And because you haven't got the buff on your entire economy at 7 minutes in the game, you're already suboptimal for cast stage timing. A bit of a tough one. I'm wondering what KJ's thought was with this back Arcan as well. Like, I can kind of guess. I think it's about the fact that he's worried about French Knights diving. But with double outpost and TC, you should have enough protection to not worry about that. Maybe one issue for Kazuyohan, the reason he didn't like the idea of putting the Arcan on the forward, is when you hit Seek Shelter in these situations, sometimes the panic of the villagers is a bit weird. Like, I've seen examples where the villagers who'd be here on the sheep would panic to run out to the outpost instead. And then the villagers on the gold would panic run towards the TC. So maybe that's what he was worried about here. But either way, Regnitz is now on the way. Stables are going to be dropped behind this. It's only 2 knights from Elyono so far. I imagine they should be adding in more. There's no way they're going extra TCs. They're holding onto a lot of wood, though. And they've dropped a Rax. Okay, so we might be getting spears to block this out then. That's interesting. Your initial knights can hold back the first knight, and then the spearmen can get in position on 4 of the 5 relics on the map, right? Elyono. I don't like the fact that you're essentially giving a relic over for free, though. Like, that first knight should be able to contest you over here. And if you take any more archer fire from the TC, which is exactly what's happening to Elyono there, you reach a point where this knight can potentially beat you now. The prelate hasn't moved out yet. It's a little bit surprising, though. So, I've talked often about the fact that if you want to be perfectly optimal with the HRE, you want to pull your prelate out basically before you produce the extra prelate. So the buff lasts 30 seconds, right? So if you pull the prelate out when you start producing, like if you 10 seconds before you start producing prelate, basically before you tech up, you can pick up the relic earlier. The reason why KG hasn't done that is that the buff is a little bit inconsistent. I've seen times where it just runs out instantly. And I think this is something that high-level players have noted as well. So sadly, you know, although there's all these small details to make the HRE's cast stage timing more optimal, sometimes you have to sacrifice that to guarantee you don't lose this gathering buff. First knight's out though. Double stable play. Other side, this Elyono actually going knights and spears. Interesting. The deer enables that, right? Like, yeah, at first when you drop this TC, it's a negative because you're getting extra villagers, but you're getting them at a faster pace than other civs, which means you're spending more food to maintain the status quo. So that's why you saw Elyono not able to just pump more knights immediately. But now we've reached a point where you've got additional villagers to the point that you're actually going to have enough food for this. So pretty smart read there. I think a lot of players might have tried one TC all in here, and I think that's just setting yourself up for failure. The 2 TC French approach is probably my favorite against this, because it just gives you a runway to play very long into feudal. Clash coming out. Weird, there was no charge there, Elyono. Not actually going for the short-range charge. KJ just going to keep chasing for now, but with the knights catching up, the spearmen on the way, and this is where KJ needs to be quick to react. Nice reaction there. Immediately pulls away. First relic on the way home. You know, I'd be curious. Oh, dude, what? He actually snuck it from the center. Okay. That's actually crafty. I'm surprised that Kazuyohan was able to do that. This one is going to be less successful in my eyes. I think that the knight should be able to shut this down. Oh, too close. Actually, if you wall straight away... Nah, it's too late now. If you'd wall straight away, the knight didn't charge, so he didn't have the bonus damage. But unfortunately for KJ, now is far, far too late. Has got another prelate on the way, however. As long as Elyono just stays next to the relic, he should be fine. But wait, what? Dude, KJ's going to get this. That's kind of bonkers. I mean, he has no right. He should not be getting that right now. That's a mistake by Elyono pulling back. There's no reason to here. So, wait, what? What? I'm so confused, dude. It's like Elyono's thinking, oh, man. Oh, he's going to go for the other relic. I'll go to the other relic. And then, like, KJ's like, oh, man. Oh no, they're going to be camping the relic. I need to go to the other relic. And then Elyono's like, wait, I haven't seen another prelate going to the other relic. He's going back for the original relic. And now Kazuyohan is going to run out for this, but the villager is going to see the prelate. No, dude. He's not going to get back with this. And the Knight's already on his way. Unfortunate. Meanwhile, elsewhere, an absolute massacre while the mind games are happening. It looks like KJ got caught out. So Knight's going down. Alyona now with 10. No chivalry, which is a little bit surprising, but I think this is a Royal Institute into a fast attempt to GG the game, right? Like, going Guildhall might sound like it's great because it gives you scalability, but you don't want that in this matchup because if this ever turns into Imperial Age, that's where KJ can scale his eco, right? So you want to end this much earlier. So that's another prelate down. Wait, did he get chivalry? Ah, there we go. Yeah, pluses came in. I always hate that you can't see pluses when you look from the enemy's perspective. Well, I say that. What? Why was it not shown before? I mean, the fight was over for quite a bit by then. So yeah, it looks like we have got chivalry. KJ can heal as well, but it's just like that's not why you build these prelates. And the prelates, I mean, he done a good job getting 2 relics, but I think these other ones feel a little bit doomed. It might be that he gets away with this left side relic. I don't think he should, but right now this dive into Elyona's base is forcing a lot of attention back home for the French player. Villagers could be in trouble though. No textiles, playing out in dangerous territory. Nice read there, KJ just turning the script here, right? Turning it into an offensive play for himself, but now with the Knights all here, this is where things get ugly. This is way too much cavalry. I love the fact that Alyona didn't just randomly go for castle yet. They just continue to scale. This is also nice because Kaiser Johann's going into mass men-at-arms. I say mass, he has a grand total of 3, with heavy maces. You'd think it's good, but it's actually not up against French Knights due to the initial cycle charge. And then, like, this is kind of the sick thing you can do with the combat. When this engagement happens, all you need to do is Alyona, you charge in with the Knights, and then you pull back, the men-at-arms follow, and then you send in the spears. The spears won't kill men-at-arms, but what they do is they guarantee that you're not taking extra bonus damage from the men-at-arms on the Knights. Royal Institute, ay. Wait, did he get... Dude. Kaiser Johann is a miracle worker right now. He's on his way to 4 relic. I think this one might get intercepted. Wait, dude. Oh my god, it's the vision from the tower! That's sick. The relic vision, folks. Remember, it gives an extra 25% sight. That's why he knew to back away there. Keeps the prelate alive. And now he can clear up those French Knights that knew a relic was coming around the back. Dive in the main base, though. Tech up complete. Alyona needs to hold their horses, literally here. And figuratively. Royal Bloodlines plus the veterancy is when you go. This army is so big right now. KJ is going to struggle up against it. Sure, you can talk about the fact he's got spears, he's got some men-at-arms with heavy maces, but Royal Bloodlines changes everything. 35% extra health at this stage in the game means you essentially need like an extra spear per knight. Behind this, the economy is looking pretty fat. I think the only thing that matters now is that you keep moving out into pocket resources. The nice thing is this boar has pretty much been exhausted. You've still got the north side boar, or east side rather. The one problem is KJ does still have 6 knights, and they are going to find their target over here. So it looks like those villagers probably going to just get massacred before they get home. It's still going to be a pretty big lead for Alyona though, even with these losses. Love the fact that we've already got level 2 eco tech coming in. Remember, the French get these 30% cheaper, so grabbing them this early in an age up makes so much sense. Knights are going to peel. Lovely idea there by Alyona. Unfortunately, the A-click at the end griefed them. Instead of going left and right, they all went right side there, so didn't get us around. The question now is whether we're going to see a farm transition. Alyona has switched over 27 on wood, so mass farms should start to come out, and that's when we get into infinite food production. That's already there for KJ. And he has admittedly got 4 relics, right? So that's 8 relic efficient when you're playing as HRE. But I've got a bad feeling that KJ might be about to do the one thing he shouldn't do here. He's going to try to go Imperial Age. I think Imp's a mistake right now. You need more troops. I don't know if he knows it's Royal Institute. I don't think he scouted it, right? And the problem right now is, like, for a while, we saw Guildhall just dominate the choice, the mindset of French and Jeanne, but in the last 2 or 3 weeks, it's all been Royal Institute, so you should expect this. In fact, you should just click on one of these, see that it's Royal Bloodlines, and understand you should not be aging up. You need more troops. Dash comes in and choke point. Problem is, both of them are doing mass melee, so it doesn't really actually help KJ. He has at least got the static defenses, but he needs spring on placements. And more of them. Only 1 up so far. Dive comes in, men-at-arms and spears have to make their stand, but these knights are so tanky. Can't help but feel they're going to outlast. KJ, army shrinking pretty fast, and it's going to be a surround. Overwhelms the main mass here. KJ now without any spears and only a handful of men-at-arms against 10+ knights in his base. This is where the bleeding begins. Kaiser Johann cut off from getting to safety. Farms are now idled up. And look at the health bars on the remaining knights. 11 of them still able to just blitz through here with the health pool of 8 Royal Bloodline knights. More villagers going down. Has got Wheelbarrow, but no Techstars. And KJ now down to just 40 economy. This game looks like it may just be over. A nice idea by Kaiser Johann, but once again, hoisted by their own petard, the greed of the HREs are undoing. Maybe an extra Rax or two, a mass spearman here could have been the difference maker. But instead, that need for greed that leads to the undoing of many an HRE player has shined its ugly head again. 24 eco to 83. No doubt in my mind, Elyona has full control of this game. Man, I can't believe that. That was sick. Nice idea coming out with the outpost. I just think too late. If you want to try to be greedy, not build troops, you need additional outposts, additional spring sooner. KJ, it's the temptation, man. Like, as soon as I saw about 1,000 food, 1,000 gold, I was getting worried. And you see exactly why. Had this been Guildhall instead of Royal Institute, he gets away with it, right? But Royal Institute is the correct play because of this timing. And Elyona done a fantastic job to understand that. I'd expect nothing less from someone who spams the everlasting crep out of French. They have so many games on this Civ. They read this perfectly. And KJ, he hasn't given up yet, but with a ridiculous 60 economy lead, I'm not sure what's left for him in this game. There we go. KJ, second wave's coming in now. Switching into Langstack's an interesting choice here. I just don't think it works now because it's mainly just mass knights. There's only a few spears left over. The reason why he's doing it, by the way, is he has 3,000 gold in reserve, so it's basically all he can afford. How does KJ get back in? He's going to blind tech. I'm certain of it now because the reality is you've lost too many villages to play Long Castle. You need to go Imperial, right? You need Pass the Swabia. But that tech up, the timing might just kill you in this type of game. You know, the only upside he has going for him right now is that Elyona hasn't actually resolved this spear issue. He's just continued to go mass knights. But remember, with the chivalry, over time, the damage that was done in that last fight has been healed off. And here we go, Pass the Swabia on the way. Elyona should know about this. It should be very obvious when you see the size of the army and you think about what you've done to the economy, right? Like, it's literally the only play you have if you're KJ. And the thing is, even if you get this, the dive that could come in afterwards could ruin your ability to build anything. Knights, bait this in. Looks like the ones on the other side are starting to rotate. And tech up complete. So there we go, Elyona. Rams now being built. KJ finds a way up, but the question now is whether these spring emplacements, the following up cannon emplacements, are going to be good enough to hold the base long enough to catch up on economy. Behind this, also keep in mind that this is not a weak French player. That's a weak Woodline, I'll give it that. But 39 farms deep for Elyona. They have plenty of food permanently in this game. And you know what? Here's the interesting thing. You might think, oh, well, Elyona should just tech up now, right? Not necessarily here. This is the interesting thing about playing as the French with Royal Institute. Your Castle Age is like an imp light. You get Royal Bloodlines, you get crossbow stirrups, you get gambesons, you get everything that makes you so powerful in that late game. And this is the thing as well, like actually this arbitrary switch is smart. It stops men-at-arms, and if Kaiser Johann's gone mass spears, guess what? Gambesons ruins that entirely. Very crafty actually by Elyona. And yes, you do still get 50 HP for imp upgrades, as Pleco's highlighting. But the point is, like, a lot of the benefits of your tech up are gained now, right? Things like crossbow stirrups and Royal Bloodlines are very big elements of Imperial Age for the French. The fact you get them in Castle Age not only makes you strong in a castle and castle bout, it gives you the ability to just go raw numbers and play from an age behind. Now, Iona understands that very well, right? Like, just look at the raw count here. 31 of these knights. If you took the raw HP count, I wish there was a quick way of calculating that stat, right? We've got, actually, we can kind of do a rough one for you here. We've got 31 of these guys with 310 health each. So they have, in total, got, it would be 9,510 health between them. These spearmen, even when they get upgraded, are not going to come close to that. 22 of them currently at 110 health. And that's the thing you have to keep in mind, is like, health is a very big resource in these engagements. And it means that the fight that we're heading towards, especially with Elyona now adding an Arbitrier, these choke points are going to be the undoing of KJ. Cannons can help quite a bit, but Elyona is going heavy on the rams. I actually think this is enough rams to break through this base. Like, it's not usually a good idea against the HRE, right? But he doesn't have the bandwidth to get culverins, right? Like, his economy was so small after that raid. Yes, it is Palace of Swabia, but that takes time, right? It doesn't cost a lot to build out the Palace of Swabia, but to get the economy value it does when you're this far behind. So, pretty creative approach by Elyona. Like, a lot of players would have lost their nerf by now and just gone Imperial Age, so they're not behind. But instead, Elyona goes all the way up to maximum cap. And now there's no capper in this game anymore. It's easy cruising. Looking to give KJ a bruising. First outpost. E-repair is going to be triggered there. It's going to be a pullback of the relics, but that's not going to work. Charge into the choke point. Ooh, just about gets away with it. Wait, what? He walks back? What? Why? Oh, no. One relic on the ground. That's one less defense that can be bolstered up. That's exactly what KJ wanted. He needed more cannon placements. Instead, the Rams go deeper. Army flooding in. Villagers also being found. Knights shifting across, and they're getting everywhere. It's like a leaky hole in a bucket. There's no keeping it all back. There's no keeping it all in. The Knights are everywhere here. Spear count down to 13. Rams moving in onto the defenses, and Elyona looks to break KJ for the second time in this game. Oh my god. You got to feel for him as well. It all starts with that relic. The greedy choice to pull back, and the fact he has to then invest the army too early to defend. And now, this time, with 15 Knights left in his base, 17 Arbitrier, it's a desperation keep. I just don't know if it's going to go up. Knights see it. No textiles! All right, this is going to be a fail. Castle's going to go up, but the price is most definitely going to be high for Kazi Johan. 56 economy and shrinking, 7 military left over. A castle that protects a mere 1,000 gold. This has to be the end. Rams are getting rid of all the defenses. Well played by Elyona. An opening game. Played fantastically well. Admittedly, HRE aren't doing fantastic when it comes to their win rate right now and their performance in competitive, but at the same time, the French seem to have been flatlined for a long time. No one wants to pick it since the release of Jeanne D'Arc, but Elyona reminds us of what it can do. Sick read here with the 2 TC build. Set them up for a very strong late castle age, and now with the remaining Rams, the fact that KJ is once again down to just 25 economy, this will be the bitter end. I'm not sure what KJ is believing in anymore. I mean, what he must have a god he's praying to, because the fact that he's at 27 economy and hasn't called GG is a big head scratcher to me. He's like, well, I've got one relic, KP. I've got a T. You haven't got a TC. The TC's gone. Just deep breath. Accept it for what it is, Mr. KJ. If anyone's wondering why Kazi Johan hasn't called it yet, it's not like a Vortex situation where he's like, oh, yeah, no, like, statistically this is against me. KJ is the type of player that literally, if he believes there's a 0.0000001% chance of winning it if it goes late enough, he's going to do it. This is not going to go late enough for that 0.00001% chance, KJ. Don't worry, though. Best of 5s, remember. So, although game 1 will end up being a destruction in favor of Elyona, KJ will get an opportunity to strike back in this series. Wonder if he's kind of thinking about what he wants to do in the second game here before we get to it, right? Because, like, this is an interesting thing to think about, is you can treat this as extra drafting time. I think the thing that slips a player's mind when they're doing that, though, is even if that's your thought process, your opponent can do the same thing. It's kind of autopilot mode for Elyona. So they don't have to focus on this. They're that far ahead. GG finally comes out, though. Game 1. A firm win for the Frenchman. Only the first of what might be a long series, though. So, French removed on one side, and we saw Acher in the other. That means Order of the Dragon needs an alternative matchup that it feels good in. I think Order of the Dented actually can work quite well against Juji, maybe? No, I think Shiganu Mass works there. I could see Order of the Dragon maybe coming out for Ayyubids if it's needed. I'm not sure about OOTD versus Mongols. Depending on the map, because if a Mongol player can just outpost rush your gold, you're in trouble, right? But outside that, there's some potential. And Pleco, I don't know what minimap you're talking about. If you're talking about Merlin's micro maps, you cannot use static spawn spots. You have to do Nomad. All right, shall we get ready for the second game here? So next up, we have got... Let me have a look. Where are we going to go for game number 2? Looks like we're going to be going to Gorge. And it's going to be an Ayyubid Byzantine matchup. I think the Byzantines have a decent ramp. This is probably going to be a fast castle on both sides type game. I wouldn't be surprised by that. Looking at recent performances for these civs, let's have a look at the highest level. So, Byzantines versus Ayyubids is actually a 54% win rate on the most recent patch. Before that, it looks like Byzantines versus Ayyubids was actually at a 41.9% win rate. So, big change there with the nerfs coming to Ayyubids and the buffs to the Byzantines simultaneously. Could matter a lot in this series. I think, genuinely, like in terms of skill. The other thing that has me a bit worried is KJ likes to play for the late game. I don't think you should play for the late game. Playing too deep into this game is bad because Byzantines will outscale you as the game goes on. I'm expecting Kazuyohan to go for that fast castle build and look to yoink the relics. The issue I have is if Elyono chooses the fast castle build as well, whether you sell the olive oil, they could actually beat you to that punchline. And no, we have not cast these games before. This is the first time. This is one of the Decider series, actually. Let's hop into game number 2. But yeah, Pleco, I don't know. I need more details. You have to message me more details on what's happening there. But let's update the score and get into the second game here. Okay, game number 2 of this Decider best of 5 to decide who will go through to the main event of the Elite Classic. Will it be Kazuyohan or will it be Elyono? Elyono off to a strong start after that French performance. Kazuyohan now going for what is a competitively very strong civ still, I'd say. A little bit more situational, maybe a bit predictable, but the things that they do, the Ayyubids still do quite well. It's all about timing, and it's all about taking control of the game fast. The question I have in this game is whether KJ is the player that can do that, because I know that he likes to play for the late game and the long con. If you do that here in a Byzantine matchup, you're setting yourself up for a slow burn into death. So, let's see if he's going to come out the door swinging. Gathering on the way. Let's have a look at the map. Going to hit the 2x speed for the first few minutes here. Makes a lot of sense in these type of games. Berries is nicely congested together, actually. I don't think you go for an ambitious Grand Winery here. I mean, you could if you're feeling really greedy and you know it's going to be a fast castle build. You could get away with it. But as is usual, it's similar to Ark and Chapel logic. You always just drop it next to the TC for protection. So Grand Winery on the way. Other side of this is probably going to be Growth Wing. No, Military Wing. That's interesting, actually, because of the Grand Winery expected opening. Like, I'm not sure how I feel in general about Military Wing reinforcement for the Ayyubids against Byzantines. Because if the Byzantines go for Hippodrome, the Hippodrome Horsemen destroy the Desert Raider. And if they go for Grand Winery, it means they're quicker to their first contract. And 2 of those 3 choices annihilate you, right? If they go for Longbows, Longbows shred the Desert Raiders. If they go for Javelins, Javelins also just destroy the Desert Raiders because of the range tag. So, yeah, it might have been better for Growth just to get that timing a bit quicker. Sheep haul looks to be really good, though. We've got 14 sheep overall. Obviously, you start on the berries, so it's a little bit deceptive. Other side of this, only 8 for Elyono. And it looks like they've done most... Yeah, they've done basically the entire scout rotation, at least of what they're going to find in terms of sheep. Level 2 system on the way. Remember that level 1 is really powerful now. It got doubled from 5% to 10%, so a really big buff to your early game. It allows you to get this first contract very quick, and it's why I think, you know, this Desert Raider opening shouldn't slap too hard, because the timing on getting the olive oil for the first drop-off first contract should be decent enough, especially considering that Kaiser Johann is going to the gold instead of the olive oil. That feels like a mistake to me. I don't like that they prioritize gold over olive oil. Olive oil is the liquid gold for the Byzantines here. And the fact they spent so long on this, yes, you idled 3 villages, but now look at the olive oil coming in. Funnily enough, actually, Elyona's not even going to risk it. I think they could have actually threaded the needle and got 200 more olive oil before an interception happens. Instead, though, they're just going to settle for archers. And funnily enough, KJ is going to invest in this age double archery range. We've seen this a little bit recently. I call it the discount Abbasid approach. I like that KJ's playing a different style to what is expected of him with the more boomy late game, you know, mess that we're used to seeing. But doing Archer Desert Raider into what's going to now likely be Jav plus Archers? Bit wonky, right? Like, this could still realistically be Longbows, actually. I think it's maybe a bit better just to go Javs. It gives you an opportunity to now attack if you're Ilyona. It does ruin your scalability into the hyper late game, but I don't think this game should be dictated by that. But it seems they're going to go for the safe choice. Western Contract on the way. So usually when I see Western Contract over Silk Road, it's because the player wants to play defensive. Usually you will see the Malian contract choice, right, where you get Javelins if you want to attack your opponent. It makes a lot more sense if you're looking to go to their base. But if you just want to camp, Longbows work. And in fairness, he has so much condensed resource here, he probably does just want to camp this game. Probably could as well, considering that KJ has gone for archers, what KJ has essentially said is that I'm not fast castling, right? You don't have to rush out your base. So Ilyona feels that they have a better chance if they just slow scale. Archer trade out. A lot of focus fire on one, but nice spread there. So a lot of tickle down units can easily be followed up on here. So KJ is going to back away. If KJ wants to keep doing this, it needs to be Cav. Funnily enough, it's actually going to be Ilyona adding that in first. This is interesting as well, actually, because of the changes around the assistance system now, with its levels being buffed. Just by getting level 2 assistant, you have a better gathering rate than the Ayyubids. That's kind of wild, actually. It used to be really annoying to kind of match that pace, right? You get level 2 system, which is kind of expensive early on, and then all of a sudden you have the same gathering rate as the Ayyubids at 10 buildings. But now you exceed that at level 2. And that's quite a frustrating thing, actually, I think, for Ayyubids trying to play long feudal, because then you have to add in the fact that Ilyona also gets a 20% extra resource in terms of all the food they drop off generates some olive oil. So it's just extra resources to put to work. It's why I was expecting a fast castle build, and apparently now that's what KJ is going to be doing after a delay. But I think that delay hurt them here, man. And yes, the 32% with the winery is even more nutty. It's even more nutty, particularly on berries. You're seeing this, right? Like, this is insane. It's 15 food and 12 olive oil. Because the thing you have to remember is that it's not just the 30% you get from, or 60% rather, you get from gathering on berries, rather. It's then, like, buffed up by the extra, right? Did they actually fix that in the end? Yeah, they did. Sorry, 50%. So the 50%, and then you add 60% in, which equals 80% of your food gathered is then also added on as olive oil. That's bonkers from the Grand Winery. That buff, like, you know, that scale, I say buff, it was just a UI that was wrong, that was fixed so people understand it now, is so huge because when you go Grand Winery over the alternative, it means your initial berries can get you like an additional bulk of mercs. So that whole kind of scale point, it's kind of funny, right? Like the Hippodrome was meant to be the aggressive play, but I'd say actually the ramping now of the Grand Winery is making it even better than Hippodrome. And of course, this has some permanence to it. The problem right now of Hippodrome that I find is that it's only good if you play Merc contracts on the neutral trade posts with things like Magadai, Horse Archers. They need to buff Hippodrome. Well, probably not Hippodrome, they need to buff Cataphracts, I think is the bigger issue. Cataphracts are just underperforming. And that's the biggest issue that I think the Byzantines face, is with no way to easily afford Cataphracts, Hippodrome has no scalability into the late game. KJ. Tech up's on the way, by the way. Advancement wing. Looks like we're going to get some Gulam spam. Gulams are... So Longbows are a little bit better against Gulams because of the extra base damage, so they can kind of tickle away at you. What matters here is that KJ optimizes the blacksmith timing. I don't like that the tech up's about to complete and Undermesh hasn't been taken yet. There we go. So it is on the way. It's really important that you have Undermesh level 1 before you arrive in the enemy base and Undermesh level 2 when you dive the enemy base. Because at that point, Elyona will do no damage. And Elyona right now is hard stuck in Feudal Age. So someone's saying Mass Cataphract's good in the late game. Okay, here's a counterpoint for you. How do you ever afford Mass Cataphract in the late game? I genuinely think if you're able to afford Mass Cataphract, your opponent has done something wrong. Like, to me, Mass Cataphract is kind of like those situations where someone's like, oh, I lost to 20 Mangonels. It's like, one, why were you fighting into 20 Mangonels like that? And two, how did you let him get 20 Mangonels, right? Thinking in team games, even in team games, I don't think that's what the Byzantines aim for, really. They usually just go mass farms and Streltsy, right? There's other civs in the game that get higher gold priority. The problem with Byzantines is they demand a lot more gold than most civs throughout the game. Varangian cost a lot of gold. Kyro Siphons cost an insane amount of gold for what they are. And then, of course, Cataphracts cost an insane amount of gold. I think Cataphracts would be more viable, and Hippodrome, by extension, would be more viable if they actually shifted some of the cost away from gold and into food. Because it's 330 total, right? But I think it's like, I'm trying to remember, it's like 180 gold or something like that? Maybe bring it down to like 140 or maybe 120. 150 gold. Yeah, I bring it down to like 120 gold. Push in here. Outpost is going to survive the little clash. But Elyona behind this is buying time, folks. They're saving for a tech up. This is why I was like kind of questioning the Archer choice into the Castle Age transition. Look what happens now. The Longbows cannot kill Golems, but they can kill Archers. And right now, KJ does not have an impressive number of Golems. Oh man, this is also rough because with Golden Horn Tower in the way, Elyona might just consider spamming Varangian. Varangian have higher melee protection, so it means that Golems are less effective. We'll have to see. In before, I've just been ranting about Cataphracts sucking and they build Cataphracts. One thing I did love, by the way, is what Elyona tried there. They thought it was going to be a long feudal, and because of that, they went for Explorator's Horsemen. Unfortunately, it turned into a fast castle in the end, so like they couldn't commit. But now they have Exploratores down the line. I really like this tech. I think it's undertaken, especially considering that if you catch your opponent without textiles, you melt through them like a hot knife through butter. Remember, it doesn't just give you gold when you kill workers, it gives you +2 against workers. And yes, KJ did take the advancement wing choice, so he saved some resources there, but got nothing else for it. Golems pushing in, crossbows are now on the way, and this is difficult actually. You're diving into the base of the Byzantines. The problem with that is Conscriptio allows them to get a counterforce together much quicker than other civs are capable of. Got a little bit of blood being drawn by both sides here onto the villages. Nice move in with the Exploratores. So at this point, I think that was actually 3 worker kills in total. These horsemen have almost already paid for Exploratores. Another thing I love here is the way that actually Elyona played this map. They set up for the right side berries. Kazi Johan saw that as a sticking point because of the Grand Winery. And then Elyona shifts far left. Where they've got berries, they've got boar, and they've got deer. So great read there. And because your opponent isn't playing cavalry, he can't clash with that, right? He can't block it out. So Elyona in a pretty strong position for the next few minutes. Farm transition's maybe going to change a few things, but realistically, by then, you're going to have some more presence on the map. We've got a Cataphract coming out. I did rant about them, and they do come out. But basically, that is just to raid into the eco. Longbow straighten out here. Archers diving in. Looking for the crossbows. I love the attempted micro here by Kazi Johan. I say attempted because he only actually done it once and then stopped. So the Golem are going to lose out here. Kind of always already arrives, and all of a sudden, this is looking bad. I mean, that is so many Golem going down, and so little destroyed in return. Oh, man. And the thing is, you're like killing archers as well, right? That's something that Elyona doesn't even want anymore. Another thing that's scary, if you want to actually scale into Golems now, Elyona could actually arguably go for Varangian plus Langsneck. They're not, though. They're adding in more Cataphract. So I'm going to stand by what I said, that Cataphract are pretty underwhelming in the late game, especially due to the affordability issue. But the reason this is really smart is because the Cataphract can absorb all the Golem's attention. They are a giant, chunky tank against that unit type. And we have got the veterancy contract now coming in. That's the crazy part, right? That was Longbow without veterancy. Imagine what happens when that comes in. Gulam Raid is good here, though. Slows things down a little bit. And that's annoying for Alyona, considering they were going into more crossbows and cataphracts. Warlord's going to come out, but Gulam should just about get away with... Oh! It's only one, but in a game where right now, KJ needs every troop he can get. That's another little tank now, if you think about it, for Alyona. It's a 200 HP unit that can just absorb. I don't like the fact that KJ is just hemorrhaging Gulam like this. The issue is, like, they're stuck with this comp because they... Wait, what the... That's not your home, buddy. He gets caught robbing the little cottage, pays for it. Yeah, so the problem right now with the comp that KJ is running is because he didn't open Lancers, he doesn't have any Raiders. So he's raiding with Gulams, and this is just costing him so much. These Gulams are not cheap, remember. Look at it. 150 resources each. 120 of that being food, and of course food is a limited factor. Boar is inaccessible. He's only got the deer back here, and the berries are already being tapped quite fast. In fact, he might actually have to consider farms in the next 5 minutes. That's a problem, because on the other side of this, remember, Alyona's already been adding in some of those with the olive groves. That's the other thing that's nice about Grand Winery. It enables that shift towards permanent food sources earlier. Dervish is also being sniped. Upside for KJ, he is at 4 relics, right? Or soon to be. Downside is map control is now shrinking. He will be able to defend quite well with the mangonels, you'd think. But that's where the cataphract choice is very crafty from Alyona. One thing that is problematic with these catas is the Desert Raiders and Dervishes that can give the Camelanese. But this many cataphracts can just basically deep dive with Trample and get on the siege. So really, KJ, the only way this Manjanique gets to fight is if you position it right around the buildings. Otherwise, the charge through will kill you. Cataphract looking to kill something easier to reach right now. It's going to sneak out into the economy. Remember, these Cataphract, they do hit villages. No textiles. KJ, slow to react to this. It looks like it's going to be 2 villies going down. Could even be more if actually the trample gets committed by Alyona. Funnily enough, they're just content with an A-click for the time being. That's just the first, right? New cataphracts coming in and... No. Not like this. No. Not like this. Another villager down. KJ starting to fall behind. Oh, bit of a miss micro there. Alyona is going to end up actually losing a kata. He made a mistake there. He didn't realize the wall actually did get tapped after he killed the villager. So he's going to pull back to this corner. But now what's happening is you're going to get more of these katas leaking in and going after the economy. Like, realistically, like, this is a bit of a mistake from Alyona right now. They're rallying to the backside because they think deer's being accessed. We have God vision. We can see it's not. But what they should be doing is checking this backside with one cataphract and then checking the wood line with the other. They've at least got people on the north flank, though, and they're going to find more villages. Oh, dude, this is all falling apart for KJ. It's a mobility issue, right? Like, so here's the thing. For Kazi Johan's type of composition, you need to wall. Mass Gulam and crossbow doesn't work unless you wall, because you've already seen your opponent has cavalry, and he's committed that investment. Like, he's continued it. So now you have this issue where your army's running around like a headless chicken. If he could force a direct fight, KJ has a chance, but right now, with this eco lead that's being built by Alyona from these raids, the main army is reaching a point where it will win a direct engagement as well. Oh, dude, 3 sacred sites locked in, and also makes up for the loss of relics the other way, right? Level 2 ranged armor also coming in, another box being ticked there. And the mass lombos is a problem now for KJ. Another cataphract's at least going to be struck down. I actually can't believe he's making cataphract look convincing. I've said this before, though, like, cataphract to me are a supporting unit. They're not the main unit. And what I mean by that is you need to use cataphract to raid, and then later in the game, they actually have a different role via the Imperial tech called Numiri. It allows you to basically put an a vulnerability buff on your opponents, debuff, that adds 15% more damage to what they receive. So, like, and then the final role of cataphracts, outside of the raiding, outside of that debuff in the late game, is cavalry, is siege sniping, rather. Because they can just no-clip. They can walk through units with trample to hit siege. And that's, I think, a big part of why we saw them, is because Alyona has basically built a 90% plus melee, ranged army, rather. So the issue is, by doing that, the counter to mass ranged is always mangonel play at this stage. The funny thing is, with how bulky cataphract are, and the way that you can chip away at the first wave of crossbows, you'll always have enough time with 3 or 4 of these guys to trample onto a siege weapon. Oh, nice idea here. Unfortunately, KJ sees it. Alyona is going to lose basically all of them here. One Cataphract gets 6 HP, but that's basically worthless now. The main army is looking so insanely scary right now, though. Second TC did go up behind this, so Alyona is continuing to scale. It's turned into a macro game. Remember what we said at the start of this game is the one thing that this can't turn into KJ is a macro game. It needs to be about tempo control, and he's lost all control of the game. He's walling himself up in the most defensive way possible. He hasn't got an army that can move quick enough. And he's going to have to come and fight soon because this Sacred Site timer is ticking. The other issue is if you wait, say, 4 minutes and then try to decap then, Alyona will have a fully fledged army and have a tech up on the way. And that's scary because this is a Civ with System that's able to use Dialecticus to just pump their unlocks in 20 seconds. I also do love that Alyona has kept that one Gulam alive. Wait, where is he? He's over here, right? Yeah. He hasn't died this whole time. He's used it as a demoralization tool upon the enemy, right? To convince more to just convert. Crossbow raiding now. TC coming up from KJ. So it looks like they're aware this is going to turn into a macro game. They're trying to contest it. Unfortunately, it just doesn't feel like this is the type of Civ matchup where you can do that. And it's even worse when you get caught building this up like this. No instant reaction from Alyona. But now the auto attacks are going to kick in. So a few villagers are going to go down here. KJ basically just has to rush the build up. The problem is you only have a garrison point for 7 villages, so you could still lose a few more. Luckily, it looks like 6 crossbows is just shy of what you need. Decap attempt on the site. That is not going to work, though. If you want this, you have to commit an army. The problem right now is the difference in raw military mass. 53 to 102 bio units. A little bit of siege to assist here, sure, but that's now coming out on the other side as well. Alyona isn't relying on cataphracts anymore, and this is a smart transition point. Horseman basically ticks the box you need to. It will take out siege, but it'll also take out the crossbows. Cataphracts, they've reached a point now where when you try to dive with 4 or 5 of them, this mini crossbow will insta-snipe you. So I really like this approach now from Alyona. Just get Springles to start tickling away, and then go wide with the Horseman. KJ pulling back from the gold. This is actually problematic, folks. This is all of the gold, right? Yeah, the rest of it is just outside of your zone of influence right now. Break through in the wall. Looks like the Horsemen are going to ride in looking for more. TikTok goes the clock, though, and KJ is going to have to make a move very soon. And no, the Explorator's tech, just to confirm for people, it only affects Horsemen. So Horsemen get the bonus damage, and Horsemen have to get the hit to get the kill. So that's why if you want to use Exploratores to get gold, you should not add in any other units. It's why actually I think that Hippodrome Exploratores is bad with the Eastern Contract, and why Keshix is kind of a bait. Because you can't get gold, and then the most likely thing to kill Eco. On top of that, I just in general think like playing Eastern Contract with Hippodrome feels bad because you're just basically becoming a one-dimensional army, right? So yeah, like, you know, I think I've talked about this before. Like, if you go Hippodrome, Western Contract makes a lot of sense. Obviously, this wasn't a Hippodrome game, but it's the fact that if you've already got some Cav, reason to go Cav, you don't need to double down on Cav. You need someone else. And Langsnet now moving in to be that something else. Cleaver Boys just trying to hit into the Gooms, but of course those Gooms with all the armor, able to resist it. More troops moving in though, and Springall was trying to target down the Manganiques, but it just takes so many hits here. So KJ will be able to hold. Alyona needs to start backing away. They did not bring enough anti-siege here. A massacre with that attempted commitment. But at least it defends the Sacred Site timer. And this backup should buy time for more Springles to arrive. 2 Manganiques left over. Oh, dude, this is the problem. The moment KJ has to attack instead of defend, it looks bad. This has been something I've noted about him as a player. He loves to defend, but the moment he actually has to come to a situation where he's marching out towards you, things fall apart. And that's exactly what's happening here. Manganiques are down. It's mass crossbowman versus mass longbowman. That's something that should realistically favor Alyona, but he makes a mistake. He hangs a little bit too close, and now KJ able to start snowballing. Has that extra damage coming on, that extra movement speed to gap close. The issue, however, at the tail end of this fight is who can reboom quicker. Food income almost double for Alyona. It seems undeniable that they can get more troops out afterwards. KJ should at least be able to get a decap in. Or maybe not. Cav's been held back. It's a bunch of horsemen here. Alyona's baiting him. And he doesn't even know it, right? He hasn't seen what's behind this. He finally gets a glimpse of it as he overextends with the forward vanguard. So that's going to be chased down. And funnily enough, Alyona giving a little bit more respect than is necessary here. Of course, doesn't know if KJ has a second wave behind this. Doesn't know how many farms deep he is. We have all that info, of course. We can see that actually KJ doesn't have a late game economy. He has 12 farms in total. Other side of this, Alyona sitting a lot more healthy with 26 groves. Well, this is the problem, right? Like, people highlight at KJ, great fight. No denying that, right? Held on. We highlight he's a defensive player. He does well when he turtles, but the problem is this is no longer about turtling. This is about the sacred sites. I love what Alyona has done to this game. If they had to keep headbutting KJ, I actually favor him there because I think that plays into his playstyle. Alyona sees that, though. They understand the way that the map's been carved, and they say, no. You come to me. I am not coming into that base. I don't need to. You're the one who has to stop me. How many mango hits the kill a spring on? I think it's 3, right? Because you do... is that 3? I want to say 3. Feels like 3 whenever you watch it. Anyway, Clash comes in. Horseman, and there's no front line. Oh, boy. This is looking a bit rough. KJ on the ropes here. Spring almost counter him out now. The Manjanique's just not getting their value anymore. And it feels like this is the bitter end. KJ was not able to reboom the army quick enough to get a front line together. And the cavalry wave seems to have broken him down to just 27 military versus 57. It isn't all here, but the next wave is what matters. And of course, the Sacred Site timer is still ticking down. So KJ, even if he somehow holds back this wave, he has no way of getting out the base anymore. Sick read by Alyona. Timing is right. And now they find themselves very quickly on match point in this best of 5. Woo-hoo! And they have got to be feeling confident after that one. That was surgical, the way they played up against KJ there. Kaiser Johan, I love that he tried to do something different with the early feudal aggression, but the problem is he backed away from it as if he baited his opponent, not understanding that Lombos can actually punish you at the beginning of the Castle Age. Great read, by the way. Alyona played that as well, by the way. Just fronting the aggression to keep everything contained. When they saw it as Ghoulims, they had to have a sigh of relief going there. No Limitane transition needed. You already have control of the fight. And, you know, I wonder if Lancers could have changed that game. To me, what I saw was a guy who wanted to raid, but didn't have the right unit for it at any given stage. It means that it's a Byzantine win, a second point on the board, and Kaiser Johan, nothing but perfection will get them back into this series now. By the way, I did see that Mr. Pessimistic, coming in with the sub. It seems you subbed to the right person. Thank you very much, and welcome to the Swarm. We've got another game here. KJ's last hope of staying alive, and oh, Jesus, he's been outdrafted. We talked about it potentially coming up. It was the worst possible thing that could happen. We head to Bridges for a Zhuji English showdown. And when I say that this is a harsh matchup, a hard matchup for Zhuji, I feel like I'm not doing it justice. KJ is going to need a miracle here. This is one of, if not the hardest matchup for the Zhuji. Let's see if they can make it happen. We hop into what could be the last chance, the last hope for KJ to make it to the main event of the Elite Classic 2. Alyona, it's looking like another day in the office for them right now. Just surgical with the execution on this draft. And they prove it with this third game where they get the powerhouse that is the English. Bridge is a great map for it as well. Typically, the way that this works is that the distance to reach your opponent's base, the way it kind of funnels in, it's very easy to kind of just dart across. We've seen even Barbican attempts to block this out fail, where with the English Flexi, they just have the north side and the south side they can easily rotate between. Sometimes you get the back spawning wood lines, which exposes your food. Other times you get forward spawning wood, which can also be shut down by the English. And the sad reality of Zhuji compared to Chinese is Chinese can at least fall back on a Barbican to stop this. Zhuji have nothing. They literally have nothing to work with. He's got great wood lines, as people are highlighting, but the problem here is it's not about wood, it's about food. So what we need to keep an eye on for Kaiser to even stand a chance in this early game is how many sheep he gets. And already, I'm not sure how I'm feeling about this. It looks like it's going to be a little bit of a split down the center and a race towards the north. One that it looks like Alyona will beat him to the punchline on. 9 sheep to only 7. Southern Ireland is not going to hold any hope either. There's no sheep down there. So overall, this is going to be a much better haul. And this is problematic now because if Alyona just pumps Lombos and camps these berries, which are fairly accessible, right? It's not too hard to weave around this wood line to cover them both. Even the deer to the north side doesn't feel safe. Nice little read there, though. KJ actually does recover, comes back his way, finds some sheep near his side. So up to 8 now, but it's 8 versus 11. The deer, I feel like they're a lot better for Alyona here than they are for KJ. If KJ can get a short wall up, I think this is everything. You just need to wall this area, and then the English can't rush you. So we'll keep on 2 times speed for the time being. We'll see where he wants to put the walls. Logical wall goes up first. This prevents your wood from being intercepted. But the follow-up from KJ really needs to be a drop on here. He needs to be fast about it, because the first Lombos are going to be on the way. Toot sweet. Actually, wait, what? Okay, so Alyona thinks they're going to be attacked. That's very interesting, actually. I mean, stables makes a lot of sense, but it's not going to come out quick enough to do that to you. Eddie, oh, God. Was that... Really? That's not great. A Meditation Garden got nerfed pretty hard. It's hard to get good ones now, but getting 50 gold on a Civ that has access to taxmen as well doesn't feel ideal. The problem is that you can't really TC boom here, right? I thought maybe they'd actually go for a Meditation Garden here to get the berries and the wood, but apparently they wanted the gold instead. I guess one upside of doing this, by the way, if we want to look at the positivity of it, is realistically you can get to a point where you don't need anyone on gold, and that means you need less Imperial officials to be optimal of your entire economy, right? Horseman is going to get rid of the scanning vision. It looks like the walls are already up, so unfortunately Alyona, although they can keep getting in for the time being, they will eventually die to this. There is one way out to the north side if they're quick about it. Okay, I actually really like KJ's solution to this. I wouldn't say it's out of the woodworks. The longbow timing is still going to be scary with Spearman to assist, but one thing that's interesting that KJ can now do, if he gets this wall up on the north side, he has access to his own deer safely on both sides of the embankment. That's very important because this he can't take, right? Longbows will shut him out. But his goal right now needs to be horseman focused. He needs to get enough horsemen together to contest the Longbows, then raid the English. And the only way you do that is by securing all this food extension right here. 2 horsemen now, so this should shut down the scout. Alyona, meanwhile, took a long time to come out here. It looks like the scout might actually get the info about the wall in time to stop it. And oh, dude, that's sick. He actually does. What? KJ backs away. So that's going to be a villager going down. Yeah, no way you get this up anymore. Like, 2 Lombos is enough to chase you down. In fact, he needs to move away ASAP if he wants to survive this. Unfortunately, it's going to be too late by the looks of it. Spearman here as well means the horseman can't protect this. Maybe? You cheeky... He actually gets away with that. Sick play by KJ. So he baits in the brace from the spearmen, so they lose the charge there, and that breaks away the villager. So doesn't get the wall up, but he at least doesn't lose anything for outside of idle time. Alyona, though, has read this right. They're moving north. Oh my god, dude, the one area KJ didn't actually wall. And right now, KJ's army isn't big enough because, dude, are you kidding me? He was going fast castle. This is actually a big deal. This many Longbow and Spears could force you off your tech timing, or force you off the food. And you can't afford that if you're KJ. You don't have enough of sheep underneath your TC now to sustain. Alyona knows. He damn well knows. He's moving in. He counted the deer, right? Because remember, you can see deer through the fog, so you know when they die. It's a nice read here. Blocks out the food gathering. Doesn't kill the villagers, but at least idles them. And that's what matters now, because KJ is about to go for a tech up with a grand total of 4 sheep. They're going to have to play risky and frisky, right? Southside, they're going for food there. Mount Lu Academy is on the way. Alyona, however, is not going Castle Age. They're going all in. Dude, Elyona's got the perfect read on this, man. I think one thing that I've noted about pro play in general is players have gotten a lot better at punishing tech choices, namely feudal to castle age. When you invest, like it used to be, we saw a lot of players, if they failed to stop a castle age, they just walk back home, right? But what Elyon is doing is he's putting together an army that could end the game now before any castle age units come out for KJ. And that feels bad, right? Because like if you can't get into your upgrades, you can't afford the food to get those good units, essentially you've just spent 1,800 resources on nothing. Admittedly, for KJ, he spent 240 less, right? Because it was Tang Dynasty tech up, which saves 15%. But still, it's expensive. Even Mount Lu Academy giving you now a little bit of extra food when you tax. This doesn't feel great. In fact, I'd love to see Elyon drop a blacksmith now. Yeah, they've got it. Steel Arrow's on the way. Love to see siege engineering as a priority here. I think if you get siege engineering quite quickly, you can just shut down the base. Palace Guard are coming. Upgrade is also coming in. But he needs the blacksmiths. It's not enough to have one thing here. He's got enough gold for blacksmiths. It's a little bit surprising to me that actually he hasn't prioritized that. The reason is if you actually have the blacksmith upgrade with Undermesh, then these Palace Guard actually feel like men-at-arms, right? But if you don't have that, mass Lombos with Steeled Arrow kind of tears you a new one. Both shifting out. If he gets the Taxman here, it's actually a really big deal. Like, tax count for KJ is only at 1. He hasn't built any additionals because he doesn't want to be without villagers. So dive into the main, though. Oh, my... KJ! He dodges death here. Alyona, they haven't checked. They don't know. They don't know about the follow-up berries. Oh, my God. This is why scouting the entire map is really important when you look to starve. But the problem is when you play English, you can't afford to keep your scout away from your army. Because if you get ambushed, you lose way too much value in those Lombos, right? So it's actually a sick read by KJ to take a gamble and go on the wide flank. So the Horsemen have been cutting down a few Lombos, but now they are so dead that anything, even a sneeze, would kill them. And he shit... Oh my God. KJ is playing a dangerous game right now. He's moving out to the enemy side of the map for berries. It's not great, right? But you can't go deer. Deer's always going to attract attention. Berries is your only gambit. This is so risky, though. The only IO you have, 14 villages, out on the enemy side of the map. Is it going to be enough, though? Palace Guard count only at 6. Oh, my God, dude. He hasn't got Undermesh yet. He didn't supervise because he only has 1 IO. Luckily, he does find the smaller wave of Lombos, but genuinely, this is just painful, right? Like, if you want to engage the main army, you need Undermesh, you need mass as well. Nice bait at the Spearman just to buy a little bit of time for the backup here. The Lombos are what are important. If you can scale an extra army together with 1 or 2 melee units, it should be enough to push this away. Meanwhile, he still has troops all around KJ's base. In fact, if he gets vision on that wood line, I'm pretty sure Lombos can reach this. Villages. Ooh, just missed out on one there. Nice rewall just in time there by Kaiser Johan. Stops reinforcements getting through, but now he needs to start chopping down these small fragmented groups. He's going to find the Lombos on the south side. Nice cleanup. This is what he needed away from the main clump. Because now it's 2 threatening armies. Like 9 Lombos here, 8 here is a little bit frustrating to fight. Wait. No, 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 no. Not like this, dude. They don't register as inactive. Oh my God. KJ. Buddy, pal. Just because the taxman says everyone's working doesn't mean they are. I can't believe this. He supervised he supervised the blueprint. Dude, he hasn't even noticed. I don't think he's gonna notice. Not until he looks at his food. Right now, he has no food. Oh my God. A Decider series to qualify for the first major event of 2024. Match point that you're up against, and that happens for what? An entire minute of gathering with 14 villages. With a Castle Age build where you need to spam Palace Guard. That may have just decided it. 31 Lombos, 7 Palace Guard. This is exactly the nightmare that KJ needed to avoid. And if you think I'm exaggerating, if you think that's not a lot of food, look at the drop-off and what's happening, right? He could have had an extra 6, 7 Palace Guard here. Now he doesn't have enough to take the fight. Burn through on the wall again. Second wave's looking to come in. I think this is going for the jugular now. Elyona also now macroing up for a tech up. He has everything in his favor now, right? Raw eco count works for him because Elyona had food at all times. Who didn't? KJ. It's why he's behind on eco. He only lost lost now 6 villages, but like the fact that he couldn't even get an army together meant he couldn't protect. The idle times as well have been stinging him like a constant bee. And now, with King's Palace on the way, veterancy, silver hats for these Lombos all but guaranteed. This Palace Guard count is irrelevant. Wow. I actually can't believe that. So people are asking how the Vills bugged out. By the looks of it, from what I can tell, what happened here... Wait, oh, for God's sake, dude. He supervised a blueprint. And because he was supervising, the villagers... I think he was standing inside the AoE of it. So the villagers couldn't build it because he had like a superior command. It's like when an archer is attacking something and standing in the way of your keep. He won't move automatically because his order takes priority. The same happened. And now, you want to know what makes it even worse? He's not even supervising. He turned taxation on. All right, this is... There are ways to lose a series. This has to hurt. KJ, 2 critical mistakes of that food that has just prevented him from ever getting the Palace Guard count to where it needs to be. And now, with the veterancy upgrades on the way for the English, this is where the game is going to take a turn for the ugly. Funnily enough, by some miracle, KJ still hasn't been scouted on these berries. By some miracle, these villages have not been seen still, but I don't know if that's going to remain the case for long. Elyona is shifting south side. North side has it locked down, so he understands the only place now that KJ could have went is south. Dude, this is crazy, man. He still doesn't know. So if you don't think this is a lot of food, remember this is 1,500 food. Actually, it's more than that, right? It was an 8 patch. So it's 2k food, and you would have got an extra 20%. That's an extra 400 food. That's 4 extra Palace Guard. If you don't think that's a lot, you ain't tried to mass Palace Guard before. Lombo sniping out the villagers in the retreat. He's going to get back to the base with some of them, but I mean, for what at this point? Men-at-arms at least get cleared up the back, but you just got no food. You need to get to food here. Men-at-arms are going to start torching through. You'd think it wouldn't be fast, but just a few of these guys actually do work quite quickly. Remember, their torch damage gets upgraded per age, so this is not going to last long. It's going to be a breakthrough. Even more idle eco now for KJ. He's going to clear up a few of the units around the back. He'll get access to the deer again. But with only 17 Palace Guard and now crossbow men-at-arms scaling, is it enough to hold? Oh, yeah, no. About to break the wall and get access to the base. And KJ, this is where his own base layout could be used against him against the Lombos, right? So he needs to wait to intercept if he wants to fight. I don't think he even wants to, though. Like, yes, he's got the level 2 undermesh, but think about the damage implications here. These guys hit for 9 damage. You only reduce what you take by 5. I'm saying only because when the count is this big, that actually hurts quite a bit. On top of that, you've got the Steel Arrow level 2 just coming in. So all of a sudden, actually, you're only halving the damage. You know crossbows are coming behind this. Like, right now, what KJ needs to get back in this game is a nest of bees. And he agrees. Siege Workshop being dropped. Dive coming into the main, though. But anything you can find. Elyona wants this fight. He feels the lead. He knows that he is on the edge of qualifying for the Elite Classic 2. And KJ would need to execute like a god here to dodge death. He moves in. Just a few men-at-arms all it takes. Now you just camp the Siege Workshop. This is the worst situation possible. Men-at-arms go in. Crossbows are going to back away from this. So the Palace Guard are going to start getting shredded. Lombo's also just annihilating more villagers. Kaiser Johann leaving the base with every piece of eco he has left. And this one nest of bees is about to spawn into death. Last of the Palace Guard is at least going to go down, but I just don't think it's going to be good enough. Palace Guard count has been reduced to nothing. 2 or 3 men-at-arms left over, and that's good enough. He immediately targets it down. One flurry comes out. And a bitter farewell for Kaiser Johann. There is no way back in this anymore. The villagers come back because the men-at-arms. They cut him out. Kaiser Johann, a hard matchup, no matter how you cut it, but this one was heartbreaking. Elyona makes it to the Elite Classic 2 with a dominant 3-0.